Welcome to the Lack of Thought podcast. I'm not really your host. I'm in the back pressing buttons. But you do have a host. His name is JD.
What's
right
up,
here.
guys? Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, no, go ahead.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Lack of Thought podcast. I am the not permanent host / residential live-in babysitter, whatever you want to call me, JD.
He is JD.
Oh, man. It's been a long time since we've done this.
It has been a while.
So I would like to ask all of you guys, if you are seeing this anywhere, whether it's Twitch, YouTube, or on another platform that's being shared, please hit the like, comment, let us know your favorite color, what beer you drink, and how you're doing.
I agree.
Cool. So, how many sports fans do we have out there? I mean, I'm not huge on sports, so to speak, but
As you're sporting a baseball cap.
yeah, and I was gonna say, as of lately, I've been given opportunity to be a little bit closer to the Mariners, so I have a little bit more of a higher interest into the Mariners and the Kraken lately. I can definitely say that the Kraken is doing fucking killer in Seattle, by the way. So if you guys don't watch hockey, I heard there were some really good fights, and I'm like way back in like 90s and 2000s when like there was blood on the ice type fights. Like that's when I really liked the I think it was the San Diego Kings or something like that, or the Los Angeles Kings is what they are now. The LA Kings, man, they're pretty fucking brutal, big dudes. Same thing with Canada. But anyways, man, the coolest thing I like about it is the fights. Reminds me of that one ice movie. What was that? The hockey movie?
The Mighty
Brawler?
Ducks.
What was it called?
The Mighty Ducks?
No, not the Mighty
Oh,
Ducks.
not that one.
A little bit more adult.
Not the Mighty Ducks?
Quack, quack, the duck is back, Jack.
All right. Like Justin said, if you're watching this, you like our stuff, you want to support us, we're not affiliated or anything like that on YouTube or Twitch or anything. We probably never will be, but this is fun to do. So hit that like and subscribe button.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it definitely goes a long way. Show appreciation, stuff like that towards us. I mean, we also try to steer the conversations in your direction. So if you guys have a specific topic you want to talk about, feel free to mention it in the comments. And we're glad to sit there and engage with you and look up the information of what you're talking about. So that way we can learn something as well as everybody else. We're not perfect, but we do like to socialize.
We're not perfect at all, actually.
No.
Well, I guess we get started with our first story, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So this is the United States farm fires that have been going on.
Barn fires. Yeah, that sucks, man. I'm not sure if you guys are paying attention to your local shopping markets or not, but the shelves are starting to become barren. And those that are not barren, they might be replaced with bogs. They're exchanging your meat for non-meat. What do they call that?
Synthetic meat.
Synthetic meat. A tofurkey, I guess is what it's called. Tofurkey? And fucking crickets and shit.
That sounds disgusting.
Yeah, tofu jerky. So they actually make real jerky, and the byproduct is that they use all the grease and all the spices and seasoning, and then do the same thing with tofu just underneath and let the pan of jerky drip onto the tofu and sell it as a byproduct.
Oh, let me send a message out to people, letting them know we're on the interwebs right now.
Ooh, it's not a bad idea, sir.
It's not a bad idea. I don't know if it'll do anything, but oh well.
Oh, well. I mean, it's worth a shot, that's for sure. Let's see here. Lack of Thought podcast. All right. So again, if you guys are watching this, if you guys have the need, feel free to comment, like, share. Let us know what you've been up to all this time.
Yeah, we've been out and about for a little while. I mean, both of us have been out of the country at least a couple times. So, um, Justin was doing some work over in Europe, and I went over there and visited as well. And then the wife and I went to Belize on a vacation, a well-deserved, especially on her end, vacation, and it was fantastic. I advise going if you can ever afford to go.
Yeah, I haven't. I've heard a lot of really cool things about Belize, especially recently, but never had the opportunity to go to a tropical continent or country, or even state for that matter, besides California.
I don't know if that's considered tropical.
I mean, if you're along the beaches and you can avoid everyone, then I would say it's pretty tropical, but it's not possible.
Avoid everyone.
Yeah. I mean, there are some cool people, granted. You probably already shared it. No, you didn't. So.
No, I'm just messaging people individually.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, as far as California, I mean, I was born and raised there for 16 years. I surfed a little bit, but I mainly boogie boarded. That was kind of my thing. But yeah, again, I've never been to like Hawaii, Belize, or Panama, like our other coworker slash boss slash brother in, I don't know, in arms, I guess is what the word would be. Who knows?
I'm not paying attention to you at the moment. Hang on.
No worries. But yeah, so Mike got to go to Belize. I was in Amsterdam. Our other business partner associate, my other boss, got to go to Panama as well as to Amsterdam. So we've definitely had our rounds of going out of the country a couple times now, and I definitely got to tell you, it's way different. It's a huge experience, almost a culture shock, from the amount of respect that someone shows you in a different country, being just outsider to this country, and the amount of homeless people are minute compared to like where we live, for example, in Washington, right, where there drugs is completely banned and illegal, yet they have a red light district, which here we have like, I don't know, people on the corner or like the rub shacks or whatever you want to call them.
I mean, drugs aren't completely illegal.
No, marijuana, however, is legalized, but as of by October, they're trying to actually minimize the use of that. While I was there, they currently have put a bill in to ban vaping by October this year. And then they also put in another bill to ban smoking weed in the red light district, which I don't necessarily disagree with. I think that if you're going to be in the red light district and you're going to engage with the ladies of the night, that you should be a little bit more, I don't know, sober.
I don't know. I mean, maybe you won't spend as much though. I mean, I walked down there and you know, I don't mean to judge too much, but some of them were woof. Oh, God. Hey, if you're in the chat, say hello. I see there's possibly 2 people in there, if that's not us streaming ourselves.
I'm not currently watching.
Neither am I. So if you're in the chat, say hello. Let us know you're here. It's been a long time. Oh, Pasta Fallujah's in the chat. What's up, Pasta?
F in the chat, huh? Guess you forgot the remaining ABCs. But yeah, no, I mean, some of the women aren't bad looking. Some of the women are, you know, just trying to make a decent wage. But I think that with a lot of the crime that happens in Amsterdam, you know, it's mostly from alcohol and smoking weed and buying drugs from the drug dealers that literally sit right across from your apartment as soon as you leave the morning at like 6 o'clock because they haven't gone to sleep yet. So it's a lot different. But the aspect of what I was saying was that when you're on an escalator, especially in Amsterdam, everybody who does not plan to walk up the escalator goes to the right, and everybody who plans on passing or is in a hurry goes to the left. And it's easy to move traffic that way. And I find it very peculiar that people in America have not figured this out. It took me over 3.5 hours to get out of the fucking airport because people didn't understand the respect to stand to the right side if you were not planning on moving up instead of just clogging up traffic.
It is crazy. Hey, what's up, Wet Fartosis? I believe my significant other's also in the room, so make sure
what's up?
Make sure we say tons of bad things. So yeah, no, it was a culture shock for sure. I mean, I landed in Amsterdam at Schiphol Airport, and holy shit, that is a huge airport. Like, if you've flown out of SeaTac before, SeaTac's a pretty big airport, and then LAX is also a really big airport, but it has nothing on Schiphol Airport. That the place is massive, and you're right. Everybody, if you're going up an escalator, walking upstairs, or using the hell do you call those like flat escalator things?
It's basically the same thing as a treadmill.
Yeah, it's like essentially a treadmill that makes you go faster. Everybody stays to the right, so people can go around left if they want to go faster than you. And I think it's a cool thing that I don't know, maybe it's just an American thing where we're like, no, fuck you, I'm gonna take up the whole damn escalator. You know?
Yeah, and I mean it's just it's along with that and driving and just social. What do they call that? Efficacies, I guess, if you will, or what do they call that? It's almost
just the
like
culture. It's just, culturally, it's a little bit different.
yeah, and granted that there are people from all over the world at Amsterdam, especially around this time of the season, because it's the most popular time of the year, especially during the tulip harvesting, right? Because the tulip farms are probably the biggest attraction in Amsterdam, besides all the boats and stuff that are there, and what to see in the red lights. But when you're driving down, whatever the roads are there, like let's just say it's kind of like I-5.
I seriously hope somebody clips that. You just, because I brought up your little news commentator title, and you're messing with your hat the whole time, and it's funny because it's stupid.
Oh, just fucking looking at this. But yeah, no. So
clip that. Somebody clip it.
When you are driving down like the freeways, the main highways there that go from inner cities, kind of like I-5, everybody kind of goes in the left lane, and then they get over when they finish passing, or if they're in the left lane, if you actually blink your left turn signal, they know to move over. Everybody goes within the speed limit. I would say, I think it was 70 kilometers there, and 90 kilometers in some spots. So, I mean, you're looking at like 60, 70 tops maybe. But it's just the amount of respect you get, even from being an outsider and having so many different diverse ethnicities in that country, that people still follow the same policies. People are just easily able to grab onto this whole normal thing that happens in this country. And I think it's just quite refreshing because, in America, we're used to being first and it's all about me or whatever. But in this country, it's all about everybody else. And it kind of slows down time a little bit and shows you to, show a little compassion to your fellow companion that's trying to get by and do the same thing you're trying to do, which is earn a living.
Yeah, I have more to add, but I'm texting my wife currently. Hang on.
Oh, no worries. But I would say that the biggest diversity between our country and their country, I think, is that we pay 27% in tax here as like a normal middle class society, and there you get taxed 50% of your entire wage. And then if you have kids, the mothers get back 3 stipends. I think it was like $300 to $600 every 3 months, I think it is, just to give a little bit back. So, like, for example, if your wife is a stay-at-home mom and you have a couple of kids, right? I think it's $200 or $300 per child there, and every 3 months you get $300 or $400.
He would go there instantly. Yeah, but it's a double-edged sword. We all know this, Pasta, that a lot of these countries, the socialist countries, I guess if you want to call them that, they have to tax and tax and tax and tax and tax, and it does create economic pressure on everyone. So
I don't necessarily...
And I do agree with that. It is a smaller country with a smaller population. That does make a huge difference, since the United States is a very large country with a very big population. And culturally, things change depend on where you are in this country. It's not as cohesive as it might be in the European countries.
Yeah, and to add to that too is along with the amount of population, Amsterdam is actually really dense, right? It's very culturally flavored with like I said, different ethnicities. But I think that 50% tax pays for all the free shit, and it's just the leftover excess that the government has to give back to the people. And if you want to make a shit ton of money, the best thing that you can do is go to Amsterdam and figure out their trash crisis. And when I talk about endless amounts of money to throw at it, because like I said, 50% tax is a lot of fucking money per person who works in that country.
No doubt.
So from what I was told was that they put in trash barges. They've changed the style of trash cans, and they come, what is the street sweepers go there every 2 days. I think it was a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then both days on the weekend. And then the trash comes there at least 2 times a week to clean the streets, because the rats and mice infestation that they have.
You know, I don't know if they burn their trash and stuff for electricity there.
I said they should. I came up with that exact same thing, was that they should do that as far as renewable resources, but I don't know either.
Hey, we just got a new subscriber. Thanks for following on Twitch.
Hey, appreciate that. Thank you. And don't forget the free healthcare. Yeah.
What's up, DB Cooper?
What's up, DB Cooper?
Do we know DB Cooper?
I don't know.
What's up, DB Cooper? Thanks for watching.
DB Cooper's never been found, so he is
whoa, wet fartosis.
I
know
is
that's your name.
The world champion of hide and seek. DB Cooper is. I don't know.
I think that the United States overall has gotten a lot better about just shoving shit in the ocean. You really have to look at East Asia and the practices of, if you throw it in a water body, all of a sudden it disappears and just cleans itself the next day. Not to quote Trailer Park Boys, but yeah, it's definitely a problem. I was reading the other day about shipping containers and how many shipping containers are at the bottom of the ocean, and it's crazy to see how many shipping containers fall off of ships yearly, and how many are just sitting at the bottom of the ocean.
Brand new cars and equipment, electronics, and all kinds of shit.
But it's definitely an issue. I mean, people just tossing shit in the ocean is stupid. It's not like it just disappears.
What was that fucking, there was like this meme video or something like that where this girlfriend was just fed up because she was constantly cleaning or whatever.
Hang on. There's actually a huge landfill problem in the U.S. right now because we can't relocate it to China anymore. So let's take a state that we hate the most.
Oregon, California?
No, New York.
New York.
Okay, yeah, New York City. Why don't we just turn that into a big landfill? Yeah, I'm halfway joking. I mean, it'd probably be easier to do it in the Middle East.
Jesus Christ, dude.
That too.
In the middle of the fucking desert.
Well, WF, Ohio, they already started, putting stuff in the water and stuff. I mean, train derailments. They've already kind of gotten that going. So
I totally forgot about that. Fucking derailments. That's a big problem.
Yeah, the derailments. Our infrastructure is crumbling. I mean, just based out of the Northwest and where we live in the, I guess I'd say Seattle area. We're south of Seattle, but the West Seattle Bridge, I mean, that had a ton of traffic on it for people who live in West Seattle. And because of poor maintenance and people not paying attention to the deterioration of it, has totally just, I mean, they can't use it anymore. It's just sitting there.
Yeah, and they're blaming this on long trains, not specifically just trains in general. They're blaming this on long cargo trains, that the trains are overweight, so when they're going around the corner, they're just flipping, which I've seen several videos now that they actually have derailment devices installed on some of these railways, like East Palestine, Ohio. Someone had actually taken video of the fact that there was something mounted on one of the rails there where essentially one of the wheels would go up and it would basically cause it to go off track. And there was 2 or 3 videos that I've seen now that have this, and they had mentioned I think a week or 2 prior to another accident. Where was it at?
Well, there was one in Arizona.
Blue Island.
There was a derailment that happened in Arizona, and it could be too. I've thought about this for a long time, and I'm sure you all have as well. Is now that social media and the media in general is so fast. I mean, we receive information so quickly anymore that things that were happening 20 years ago, even we didn't know for it could be days, it could be weeks. You know, it didn't reach us as quickly as it does now. Oh man, the chat's gonna be spicy today. I love it. Keep it going. Keep it going. Yeah, WF, what you were saying about the bridges, yeah. I mean, I-5 alone through Seattle, I mean, we poured that 70 years ago, and it only had a 50-year lifespan on it, and we still haven't done anything about it.
Well, you remember that fucking excuse my language, but the train derailment that happened in Olympia not too long ago, that happened on I-5 South. I think it was one of the Amtrak trains or something like that.
Yeah,
going
that was
around the corner.
testing, Amtrak testing, the new rail that they had put in.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's even just a passenger, what do you call it? Passenger train,
Yeah,
and there were people on there.
Yeah, can you imagine if that had been an actual cargo train or a freight train? I mean, that would have been...
Oh, dude, devastating. I mean, that would have all went into, I think, what was that? What's down there? Snoqualmie? Or not Snoqualmie, but...
Oh, hang on. Let me speak to this last thing. Yeah, maintenance is expensive, and we pay a lot of money in our gas tax and everything for maintenance for at least our roads, and I have not seen much getting done about it. I don't know about the rest of you.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's not only just the gas tax, it's the tab tax, it's the highway tax. I mean, there's a lot of tax for a lot of BS in this state specifically, and I'm sure there is in other states. But it's like you don't see the roads getting fixed. You see these projects going on for 50 plus years, right? It's just soaking up a bunch of money. You have to wonder.
The Tacoma Dome I-5 corridor. I mean, that's been going on as long as I can remember.
Yeah, at least 10 years now. Let's see. It's been going on longer than, let's see, my daughter's 5 years old. So I think 11 years.
No, it's
probably longer than
years.
That. Yeah, probably longer than that.
20 years. Yeah, and about your comment about maintenance, WF. Another thing that I find interesting as well is we don't build infrastructure for the future. We only build it for right now. 167, for example, going through Auburn and Puyallup and everything, we just got a third lane. Well, that's fantastic. But we need more than one lane. We need like 5 lanes because, you know, the amount of people that we have here. Oh, yeah, I heard that. There's a big lawsuit going on for that in Tacoma. But the fact is we don't plan it out. We just go, okay, well, we've got this much population now, so we're going to go ahead and add a lane. And you're not thinking, okay, well, what about in 25 years when the population has increased, you know, drastically, and we're in the same spot. We're always in this, you know, spinning our wheels, pun intended, just to try to fix stuff that we need to actually plan out for.
Well, that brings up another thing too about Amsterdam. You know, like Netherlands itself is pretty much underwater, right? So they have these dikes, and yes, they are called dikes legally, that basically hold back a bunch of water.
You're definitely going to trigger somebody.
That's fine. They can worry about the new assault ban that just went through. So, but they have these dikes that they're built to kind of contain the water levels, right? And then they have all these different canals that are going through. And what these canals do is that they basically make their power off hydroelectricity and the 50% tax that they tax everybody. So the country itself is self-sustainable. Now, what they do is, in case of like a hurricane or some kind of like crazy like water-based disaster that could happen, they drain the canals to a limit, and all they do is they put a board down right in between the canals, and they drain certain things so that the overflow doesn't actually go into the cities. It goes into the reservoirs of the canals, and once the flood warning is over, essentially they open the canals back up little by little, and then the water goes back out to the ocean. It's pretty cool, but they get a lot of power from that.
I agree. It really comes down to state planning. I don't think the state planning is even close to where it needs to be, especially here. I mean, we have, you know, I-5 is the longest highway in North America. If you actually it goes all the way from Canada through the United States, through Mexico. And, obviously it's a huge shipping channel, and it is nowhere near taken care of the way it needs to be. I mean, if anybody's driven over, say, the Grapevine in California between Bakersfield and Los Angeles, it is nasty. It's a terrible drive. You're going uphill for 40 miles, and it's crazy. The longest highway. Okay, that might be the longest highway in the United States, but not the longest intercontinental highway.
Yeah, freeway.
Or not intercontinental, but what do they call it? Intrastate instead of interstate.
Yeah, and technically on any interstate like I-5, Interstate 5, or any interstate for that matter, you can legally drive on those interstates without a license because you have the right to travel for work reasons.
Well, the thing is, the taxes go up, but it doesn't seem like it's ever enough, if you know what I mean. The taxes, the gas tax, we have the highest gas tax in the United States, and, we're even higher than California, and it just doesn't seem to do anything. All right, I'm going to ban you now. Pasta is banned. No more talking pasta. I'm just kidding.
Suppress the left. Just kidding.
This is fun. It's been a long time since we've been on here. How's everybody doing? Is there anything anybody wants to chat about? We had a couple topics that we'd like to get to. But I mean, the floor is open if people have things they want to discuss. The chat's popping, which is always nice. Oh, Tucker Carlson's coming up. Justin, you can take that because I
just heard about this. I also heard about what's his name?
Don Lemon.
Don Lemon getting fired too. So back at you, Conrad, there with your woke society bullshit. So anyways, long story short, I don't know the true story about that. I actually just read that today and I was asking Mike about it. I don't know. It says that he was fired and had no clue that he was being fired. And then Don Lemon was also fired. So I have no further information about this. Get in the boot. Yeah. I mean, Don Lemon was just, he was far left and Tucker Carlson, I guess, seemed far right. So, but the difference is that Tucker Carlson gave you straight as it is. He didn't give you bullshit. He didn't hide facts. He didn't say, the left was actually doing something bad when they were doing something good. He didn't gaslight anybody. And he gave you exactly what the real story was. It was actually pretty good. But he provided comedic humor, I guess, for the channels, and he wasn't afraid to call anybody out. So I have no idea why he got fired. I'm pretty sure that he was too openly about his commentary, so... fucking cost Murdoch $500 million. Oh, is that what happened? $500 million. So Tucker Carlson was gaslighting people then, is what you're saying, and let's see, he virtually gaslighted the country over the election. Oh, interesting. So he cost Murdoch $500 million, Mike, and he gaslighted the entire country, and that's why he got fired.
That says 800.
Oh, is it 800? I can't read. These things are put at such an angle.
I'm sorry.
800 million. Okay. Huh. Interesting. I'll have to look into that a little bit more. Like I said, I know nothing about the news articles here that just popped up. I just read them today within a short amount of time, so I have no education on this whatsoever.
Well, does it surprise anybody that he talks shit about Fox anyway? I mean, he came originally from MSNBC, didn't he?
I believe he did. Because he was far left for quite a while, and then, well, actually, he was left, and then he became a little bit more center based, and then he went to Fox, and then he became more right leaning. The Dominion lawsuit. My bet is Fox lawyers said he had to go. I wouldn't doubt that. Dominion trial was going on for like weeks. He said he was at the heart of it. Huh. Interesting. Kind of like Trump. Yeah. Trump's a sore subject too. I understand that. Is Trump behind jail yet? Is he behind bars? Does anybody know if he's actually been arrested, or is he just walking around free and just pissing everybody off still? Because last time I checked, he had a perfect picture up there where he was smiling and waving at everybody. So I don't know if he's been locked up. Huh. All I know is that he was eating pizza on his last televised thing, which I believe was aired sometime at like 8 o'clock Eastern time. Well, I mean, if Trump will never go to jail, that means Biden will never go to jail, or anybody else that's actually committed crimes as well. You know, I mean, think about Hillary Clinton's emails, the 30,000 emails plus that she sat there and hid from everybody else.
Sorry, I got to interrupt.
What's up, Wheels?
What's up, Wheels?
Long time. Hope you're doing good, man.
We got like 5 people in the chat.
Hell yeah.
That doesn't ever happen.
Well, and just like Conrad said, is that if justice needs to be served, it should be served across all platforms, not just one party or the other. You know what I mean? In all rightness, we should be fair.
You totally just doxed Pasta.
Oh, did I? Did I just dox him? I don't think I did.
You said his name.
Did I say?
Yeah.
Pasta Fallujah?
That's awesome.
This is
all right, guys.
government.
Ban us now.
I said comrade, not Pasta Fallujah. Excuse my language. Yes, comrade.
I can't disagree with that comment, WF.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that either. One of the best songs that I think would contribute to that statement was War Pigs by Ozzy Osbourne. It's a Black Sabbath. That whole song is pretty like on point to what's going on now. It's like the politicians dedicate war, all the generals kind of gather together and they plan all these schemes to take over other countries, and only the poor is the one that fights in the war, and the politicians can't be bothered while they have rituals.
There's been quite a few songs written about that. I mean, Fortunate Son from Creedence Clearwater Revival, BYOB from System of a Down. I mean,
yeah.
All of these songs are written for that sort of thing, for sure.
Absolutely. You know, and I don't disagree. I think because I was listening to Black Sabbath today on the way here, I definitely think that now is kind of like the time to sit there and pay attention to what's going on in the government, regardless of who wins presidency or not. It doesn't really matter, right? Because we've all been told that they're puppet masters, essentially, where they control what happens in this country, and we can only assume that they're the 1% of the wealthiest, right? You know, while you have these rich mega families that just sit there and breed with their own instead of going out of their family and breed with other wealthy families, they kind of try to keep to themselves. And we've seen this many times. I mean, look at our current educational system, look at our current cancer research systems. You know what I mean? Like, they're all funded by one general family. And then now you look at like society today and you wonder why, you know, kids are the way that they are, that they're losing a lot of education, or they seem to be indoctrinated in the wrong things and whatever. You know, I mean, granted that children shouldn't be indoctrinated anyway, but in order to parent a child, you have to steer them in a correct direction, which in my opinion should be the better of society, not to worsen society. Meaning that if someone opens the door, you say fucking thank you. Is it too hard to be so kind to someone who is doing something nice for you?
That's what she said. Sorry, I had to.
And excuse my language. We're supposed to be family friendly here. I mean, Mike would beg the difference.
We are not at all. This is not a family friendly podcast. Do not ever say that. This is written for people, by the people, for the people. Say what you will.
So, with that being said, I think that when people do kind gestures to you, that it's only fair that you do kind gestures for them, or just reach out and, you know, like,
Pasta, go fuck yourself.
I try to give people the courtesy of respect, you know, when I meet them and stuff like that, and I give them the opportunity to kind of show them, you know, show me who they are or whatever. And regardless of my opinions on that fact, I still try to treat people with respect, regardless of my opinions or anything like that. But when someone opens the door, I always make sure that I thank them politely, because someone's stopping, you know, their busy life out of their time of the day to open a door, which is just a simple gesture. It doesn't take much time, but I mean, sometimes that little gesture, like walking up to someone and giving them a hug when you see them like depressed, and they're willingly accepting the hug, mind you, not you're just forcing yourself on them, can change someone's fucking life around. I mean, there's so many depressed and suicidal people here now because of all this propaganda and BS that's going on in our country between left and right and gay and straight and, you know, all these different types of genders and stuff that's going on right now, that you have to be a specific type of person in order to be acceptable into society, which I don't think is correct. I think that you should be yourself, and if you are giving to society, then you should be left alone if you want to be in peace, you know?
It's a very libertarian argument.
Well, and I think it's true though. I think that, you know, if you want to be neutral in whatever you do, and you don't want to take any side, and you don't want to be a part of something, then you shouldn't have to be a part of something. Not address someone by an acronym or a pronoun or whatever. You know, you should just address them by their name. And I think that everybody would be happy, because I'm not going to announce someone by their pronouns. I'd rather call them by their name, and that's who they want to be, right?
Now, does that include dead naming?
I mean, you could dead name if you want, but if you ask someone, hey, how's it going? I'm so-and-so, what's your name? And they tell you what their name is, and you call them by their name that they just told you what was, I don't think that you would have an issue. Now, if they start bringing up the he, she, him, her type things, whatever, I'm not about that. I respect their standing, you know, whatever they want to decide that they want to be in life, that's fine. If they want to be an astronaut, I'll call you astronaut Jordan, whatever it is. You know what I mean? That's fine. But to sit there and say that I have to announce you by your proname and then your name, you are incorrect. And you are not going to change my way of life on that. I'm sorry, but I was taught to always address politely and to announce you by your name or just shake your hand. I will not call you him, her, he, her, she, him, whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to say, hey, how's it going, sir? Hey, how's it going, ma'am?
That's where we're going to meet in the middle, too, on this pasta. Is that, you know, it shouldn't be forced. That's anti-liberty at that point. I mean, I'm not saying go out of your way to be an asshole, but at the same time, it's like, you know, why do I have to be forced to be a part of your, like, delusion? You know, it would just be the same thing as, like, me trying to force people to see my way and you know, having a conversation is one thing, but when it becomes a force thing or a cancel culture thing, you know, I find it to be ridiculous.
Hey, Mike.
What?
You're not religious, are you?
Negative.
So if someone came up to you and said, hey, have you heard about Jesus Christ today, your Lord and Savior, what would you say to them?
I said, I have heard of him, but I do not believe in him.
You should go to church, Mike. And then they just gaslight you over and over and over again and say, well, you're a piece of shit because you don't believe in Jesus Christ and blah, blah, blah. Right? That's what society is today. And I don't think that it's right to gaslight someone. And yet, when you gaslight them and they still decide that they don't want to be a part of your societal norms, whatever it is, that you decide that you're going to go burn down their fucking house or their business, excuse my language again, but you're going to go burn down what they worked hard for, just because they didn't announce you by what you prefer to be called or whatever, address you how you prefer to be called instead of how you actually appear to be, then that is not okay for anybody. And I think that the Second Amendment should back that up, because the freedom of speech is there so that way you can say your piece and they can say their piece, no problem. But as soon as there becomes a threat on my family, that's when the Second Amendment takes effect, because no longer free of speech, your First Amendment is a part of this equation, because now someone is suppressing your voice to go violent, right? You say, hey, I don't want any problems, and then they come at you with a knife. Well, sorry, you just suppressed my freedom of speech. I said I didn't want to be involved. Now I have to end the solution.
Hey, speaking of, this is a perfect segue for our next story. Oh, wrong one. Wrong story. This one. House Bill 1240 in state of Washington, the assault weapons ban. Thoughts? Who's got thoughts? I'm sure Pasta has thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting bill. I don't know much about this. Mike has done a lot more.
I've done an incredible amount of research on this.
Yeah, and I just had a newborn, so that's going to be my excuse for not really paying attention to social media much. Which By the way, yesterday he turned 1 month old, which I am very grateful for. And I think a week ago he weighed 8.7 pounds. Now he weighs 10.62 ounces.
What a fat baby.
I am so excited, man. His cheeks are chubby. He's a happy baby. And it's funny, too, because he subconsciously laughs in his sleep. Thank you so much, Wheels. I appreciate that. But like this morning, my youngest daughter, she was sitting there and she was talking about getting her hair brushed by her mom. So her mom's brushing her hair and she's playing on the cell phone, right, like this. And her mom pulls on her hair. And naturally, when women's hair get pulled, their head goes back. So she's sitting there doing like this, right? And I was laughing. And then all of a sudden, my son, 1 month old, started laughing too. And I thought it was hilarious because it's like, why is he laughing? You know, it was kind of cool. Anyways, but I was talking to the pediatrician today, and they said that normally that doesn't start till about 2 or 3 months. So
That's pretty badass.
yeah.
So you're for it, Pasta. What's your for argument for the assault weapons ban in the state of Washington? I would like to hear this. Though we have had this conversation many times, I would like to continue it. And for those who don't know, House Bill 1240 passed out of the House, then to the Senate, then back to the House, and then repealed some amendments from the Senate, and then it went back to the House, and then everything was ratified. Now it's on the governor's desk, which apparently he's waiting to have a signing party for. So
Can't wait.
So here's the deal. House Bill 1240, the assault weapons ban. It is, as far as I know, the most aggressive ban in the United States. Maybe not quite as bad as Washington, D.C., because you're just not allowed to own a firearm in Washington, D.C. But as compared to California, it's way worse than California's assault weapons ban. So what this ban does is it will allow no sale of any of the AR platforms. So AR, though the left thinks that the AR stands for assault rifle, that is not the case. It
For
stands
automatic rifle.
It stands for Armalite rifle, which is the first company that made it. It was made or designed by a guy named Eugene Stoner back in the early 50s, late 50s, early 60s. I know that the weapon platform was rolled out during the Vietnam War. And obviously, the AR is a civilian version of it. The military version is not an AR. It shares some components, but the military version is full auto, 3-round burst, or single shot. In the United States, unless you have a Class 3 FFL, which stands for Federal Firearms License, you cannot own a fully automatic weapon. So everything here is semi-automatic. This bill will ban the sale, importation, manufacture of all parts. That means if you own an AR-style rifle, you will not be able to buy any parts. If anything breaks whatsoever, you're pretty much screwed. You're not going to be able to buy any parts for it. That goes the same for the AK platform. So, unfortunately, those of us who do sport shoot, like I went shooting yesterday, it was fantastic, by the way, will not be able to buy parts anymore until this inevitably goes to court, which it will instantly after it's signed. There's a whole laundry list of weapons that are under this ban. I think what the Senate or the House did was they Googled weapons in Call of Duty and then just cut and pasted that, because there's some ridiculous weapons on there that I've never even seen in the United States because we don't import them here. The FAMAS, FAMAS, is a French weapon. I've never seen one even for sale in the United States. I'm not saying that there aren't a few here. That got banned. Oh, yeah, I mean, I posted it to our Lack of Thought podcast chat, and it looked, They put the Barrett 50 cal semi-automatic rifle on there, and if anybody, if you don't know what a Barrett 50 cal is, look it up. It costs between $5 and $15 a shot. It weighs, I think the lightest one weighs like 26 pounds without an optic.
And that's not even to mention the price of the actual 50 cal itself.
Entry level for a semi-automatic Barrett is $10,000. I mean, it's not something that, you just go to your local gun shop and go, I'm just going to buy a Barrett today. It doesn't work that way. They're incredibly expensive. You don't use one if you're talking about mass shootings, the Barrett 50 is not being used in mass shootings. It's so silly. It's stupid is what it is. But where it gets a little weird is there's requirements. Well, I guess not requirements, but on the list, there's some things that are called out on different weapons that are not rifles that I thought was really weird and stupid. For example, shotguns, if you have a pistol grip on a shotgun, you will no longer, that's considered an assault weapon. So any pistol gripped shotgun, whether it's a pump action or a semi-auto shotgun, is considered an assault weapon, which is ridiculous. Also, pistols, if the pistol does not take a magazine in the grip, like normally a pistol that you would carry, anything that's, a bigger pistol that has it forward of the grip, that's considered an assault weapon. Pistols that have anything that has a threaded barrel, so pistols included, are considered assault weapons now. It's a ridiculous law. I don't think it will do anything. I don't think it's going to stop any sort of violent crime whatsoever. I think it's just arbitrary, in my opinion. What's your thoughts, JD?
How do felons get guns if they are not allowed to legally buy them?
I think they buy them, illegally.
Huh. And how do you stop an illegal gun purchase?
I guess you'd have to have like a cop with you, or you have to like film it, or I don't know, some circumstances that would have to align with the stars for you to be able to catch that action, because it's normally a cash-based thing, so
Well, I would think
it's not like
too,
you can track it through a debit account.
Well, yeah, and I think that's kind of what the they steal them. That's another thing too. It's like, uneducated people, they wanted to buy a gun for themselves. So
what do they do? They file the serial numbers off, make them not traceable anymore.
Yeah, so they do that. They file the barrel down. But it's like these people will leave their guns in their vehicles, right, when they're going to work, because they're not allowed to take guns into work with them. And someone break into the car and take their pistol or, their AR platform or whatever it is, because it's not properly locked up, or, whatever that the reason may be. It's like, some people have go bags, right? And you never know when shit's going to go downhill. You never know if the economy is going to collapse and people are just going to start going fucking nuts. And excuse my language again, but this topic, and
you are not excused. Keep using that language.
Well, I think that the biggest issue is that when you have a law-abiding citizen that goes through the classes and understands gun education and safety, that they should be more than willing to be able to take those papers with them to the gun store and buy whatever parts and pieces they need to build their platform that they need, because that they're going to be the first one to be held accountable if something happens, like a school shooting, for example. So for someone who is a felon, felons cannot legally buy a firearm in this state, regardless if it's a gun store or if it's like overstate sales, etc., like private sales. It has to be done illegally through one person to another, whether it's a fired off serial number, a stolen weapon, doesn't matter. But the biggest issue is that you cannot track illegally owned firearms. You cannot track firearms that have fallen off a boat mysteriously. You cannot track a lot of these things. So now the law-abiding citizen is unharmed while you have crime running rampant in the streets. And they also made a comparison to which was there was 300,000 officers, I believe, in New York, right? Was it 300,000 or 30,000?
There's only like 60,000 cops in New York.
Okay, so say there's 60,000 in this specific precinct, I believe it was like Queens or whatever, there's like over 2 million people that live there, right? So let's just say they all start rioting. There's nothing that 30,000 officers, if they all got dispatched to New York, in New York, to Queens, there's nothing that they could do to stop this crime. So how else is someone able to help the police if they're a law-abiding citizen? They would take up firearms, whatever, and they would put down any threat, especially most military people who are retired or veterans who have done multiple tours. I know for a fact that they've got their issued weapons, especially if they've done multiple tours. They've got access to their actual fully automatic rifle that they've been issued. The only catch is that most people don't understand is that if you have something like that, it is not legally owned in this state because it is a federal Class 3 arms license. So you have to put it in the armory, which is on base. That means that you would not have access to this firearm unless you go to base and then take it off of base illegally. So a lot of people think that there are fully automatic rifles, which there are, but they are grandfathered in between, a certain date, I believe 60s, 80s or something like that. And they're a fortune to be able to afford these things. Like Arizona, what is a Class 3 license?
They are astronomically expensive. For example, if you wanted to buy a full auto MP5, which, I mean, we've all...
Actual MP5.
Yeah, an actual MP5. And we've all played video games, or we've seen movies. We know what the MP5 is. If you wanted to buy a fully auto MP5, be prepared to drop between $15,000 and $25,000.
That's more than a Barrett 50 cal, and a Barrett 50 cal is good up to 2 miles for one bullet, right? This thing is...
You have to be really good, though.
Yeah, we're talking about American Sniper good,
really
or
good.
even better, right? And I mean, you're not taking a Kalashnikov AK-47 and shooting a bullet over 2 miles and being 100% precise. We're talking about a
You're
rifle
not
that was
hit
built...
anything with an AK at 2 miles.
No.
The bullet won't even get there.
So yeah, you're talking about a weapon that was designed for long range, which is they have a civilian version of that, and then they also have, which is a fully automatic Heckler & Koch MP5, which you can buy down in Arizona, and you don't have to have a Class 3 license for that, from my understanding.
No, you still have to go. There is some ATF paperwork that has to be done, and I believe you still have to hold some sort of... There is an ATF endorsement you have to have in order to own any Class 3 weapon.
And I think that you have to surrender the weapon if you're going to leave the state if it's not a Class 3 state. I'm not sure how that works. There has to be some kind of, what is that called, a trust in your name put up, just like with suppressors. You have to buy the suppressor under a trust from someone. There's a long process to be able to get suppressors or
suppressors
flash
used to
hiders.
take a year in just paperwork alone.
Yeah.
And, when they talk about background checks, which is something that's brought up a lot, I mean, I don't know everybody in chat if you know, but if you buy a legal weapon from a federal firearms license dealer, which you have to in the state of Washington, you have to go through a background check every single time.
Federal background check, mind you.
No matter what.
So not only are you going through local municipalities like your local police stations to look up your criminal background, you're also going through the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and they're doing a background check to make sure that you have no history of terrorism. It hasn't gone as far as checking your social media accounts yet, but I'm sure that has happened in certain cases, like Twitter, for example.
So Pasta, for that may be for private sales. But any FFL in the United States has to do a NICS background check. Any FFL.
And there are such thing as private sales, which happen in Idaho, which you're legally allowed to do a private sale from one gun owner to the other gun owner without there being a gun or an FFL required in this case. Washington State, however, is not like that. So you can buy a firearm in Idaho, which I guarantee you nobody's going to sell you now. And you can legally bring that back into Washington State because you are legally the owner of the firearm. And then you either A, register the firearm in your name, or B, have a boat accident. So,
yeah, I mean, it's opening, as far as I'm concerned, a Pandora's box of crime in general. I mean, I think it's just going to make more crime. This law is very arbitrary. I don't think it's going to do anything. It remains to be seen. I mean, obviously the lawsuits are going to fly immediately after it's signed into law.
Do you remember how many police officers were fired in Seattle alone just because they refused the vaccine for some kind of reason? Over 300, wasn't it?
Something like that.
And then shortly after, Chaz or CHOP happened, and they were severely underwhelmed because the laws... Yeah, overwhelmed because the laws have changed to a point where they can basically pull someone over for dealing methamphetamines or heroin up to 6 grams legally with only a slap on the wrist, while the drug dealer can go back to his house, pick up another 6 grams, and sell that continuously throughout the entire day. And all he walks off with is a misdemeanor. He doesn't walk off with a felony like he used to. And Mike has already stated this argument where that all drugs, all scheduled 1, 2, 3 drugs should be legalized and exchanged by the government, so that way there are specific facilities that you can engage in this activity.
I think it should be regulated. This goes back to like Ron Paul, back when he was politically active. But I mean, the thing is that making these kind of things illegal, like drugs, heroin, methamphetamines. I mean, now there's some new crazy fucking stuff coming across.
Fentanyl.
Well, now they got that fentanyl laced with something like benzene or some shit that is even worse
benzene diazide, I think.
Yeah, it's worse than just fentanyl by itself. If we had actual regulation and, I know that we do have a network of, I don't know how robust it is, but for people to get treatment, I think that would be better than just inundating our prisons and making it so people can't get jobs after the fact. Yeah, it's mixed with a tranquilizer.
That's freaking nuts, man.
So it's crazy, and the fact that people think that the fact that people think that the more drugs is a great example. The more that you make them illegal, it doesn't seem to do anything for the population that's still using it. And my problem is I've got some friends of mine that, have drug felonies from over the years. And, one's as simple as having pot in the state of California. And, he has a felony for it. And it makes it extremely difficult to get a job after you get out. And we have a lot of recidivism because of it. We have a lot of people just going through the prison doors, in and out, in and out, in and out. And I don't think it works. It's just not the way to do it.
Well, not only that, like I said earlier, it kind of inundates our judicial system so that they cannot deal with certain issues that are more popular, or I should say more heinous than just these drug crimes, where now they don't have the space to put people away that should be put away, right? That, like mass murder or something like that, say like you imprison a lot of people that have been doing drugs and selling drugs in mass quantities, and they're just filled up the prisons. Now you have someone who just went on a rampage. Well, they get put back on the street because there's no room.
Here's a great example. How many states have made marijuana legal? There's like 20, I think it's 25 states now, chat. Fact check me on that. I think it's like 25-ish states. It might be more now. And how much illegal marijuana is being used? I mean, it's not. I mean, the cartel market for marijuana evaporated. It disappeared.
Especially,
thanks, WF.
Yeah, especially for marijuana. Thanks, WF. And now the other thing is there's a specific thing that is mentioned with all gun purchases that you cannot do
22 states. Sorry, I was a little bit off.
That you cannot do what while owning a firearm?
You cannot use marijuana and be a firearm owner.
You cannot also use drugs or be under any influence of any substance which would impair your vision or your motor skills while you were operating a firearm, said range or even at your home, because I guarantee you, if you were way too drunk, right? Let's just say you've had at least 15 shots or 10 shots or whatever, or like an 18 pack of beer. Someone comes into your house and tries to rob you. You shoot and kill them in the right. You will still be arrested and prosecuted because you were under the influence while using and operating a firearm.
Well, and I look at it too. So, like, for example, we have in the summertime we have quite a few parties at my house, and a lot of us carry guns. I mean, I have a CPL. I'm not going to say who else does, but I personally do carry a firearm. And when we're having a party at my house, no matter what, either the gun stays in your car, or it can go in the safe. But nobody has access to firearms when we're partying because there's no reason for it. You're just asking for problems. If people are getting drunk and messing around with guns, that's a no-no at my house. Same thing with keys. I mean, for example, over let's see, my wife and I had our 10-year anniversary, and one of the rules is it's like, hey, if you're not, I mean, if if you can't drive, okay, take a nap on the couch. I mean, do not drive home drunk from my house. I mean, I'm not your dad. I'm not gonna take your keys from you because I'm not your dad.
We did though. We took Pasta's keys. We gave him back to him though.
No, we didn't take Pasta's keys. Pasta knew that he wasn't.
He voluntarily.
He voluntarily said, "Hey, I can't drive. I'm gonna take a nap for a few hours," and that's the way you should do it. Because we don't want anybody getting hurt, getting in a car accident, shooting off a gun, anything like that. We want to have fun. We want to be responsible at the same time. And so that's the rule at my house. I mean, I 100% do not care if you carry to my house at all. It's more highly looked upon if you did. But, once we start having beers and stuff like that, no, the guns get put away because it's safer that way.
Yeah, we're not the cartel. We don't party with, freedom seeds up in the air while we're all sitting there trying to play piñata or something like that. I don't feel like being the target of an ambush from the sky and raining down bullets on top of me. So, I know for a fact too, even as long as Mike has been coming here, that I've never even shot a firearm on my property one time. And the biggest thing is like I was saying earlier, was that gun safety and education is number one in this country, right? If anybody wants to be a legal gun owner,
it should be.
They should go to class and study on how to operate the firearm that they currently own, not some kind of, bullshit blueprint of, hey, here's an AR-15, shoot this a couple times, even though you own a .45 caliber pistol, right? No, bring your fucking gun to the gun range, shoot your gun, and follow all the rules and the instructions that you were taught to, and do it frequently, right? It's no different than learning how to drive. How do you get your license? You learn how to drive by taking the test, passing the test, and then actually going with a teacher in the street to do that. Now, think about this. Here's a really good example, and most of you people, and then when I say you people, most of the people here in the chat, whether it's from YouTube or some other platform like Twitch or whatever, will agree to this. Harry Potter. Have you guys all seen Harry Potter? Okay, so then you would assume that in Harry Potter, the School of Wizards, that everybody has what? A wand. And what does that wand do? That wand has magic.
I don't know if this is a good...
Well, no, let me explain this here.
Because they pointed their wands at people all the fucking time.
Let me explain here. 1 second. So let me get to the conclusion of this. Everybody has a wand. And why is there no mass spelling, so to speak, right? What do teachers have? Also, wands. And what happens if a teacher or a student gets out of line? The teacher does what? They put them in their place, right? How many times have you ever seen someone die on Harry Potter, for example, that wasn't justified in protecting themselves? You've seen many people who have died, right? But they were in the right to defend themselves, and they also had the okay from the teacher, so to speak, in this big giant battle. So long story short, when you have a fully armed school and someone comes into that school with said wand, and the teacher is also armed with a wand, I guarantee you that the mass speller would be eliminated before they got to the end of the hallway.
So DB Cooper, can you elaborate on your last comment? Unless they are military, In what regards? I mean, if you're coming to my house to drink, there's no guns, period. It doesn't matter if you're military or not. I mean, I respect the military 100%. I also have met people in the military that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. So, that's there is that. I mean, I would say that a lot of military members are proficient in using firearms. And I don't even think classes is necessarily a thing, but education is important. Firearm education is very important. And Pasta and us have had this conversation a few times where a lot of people on the left do not know anything about firearms. They don't know anything. They're not educated. They're very uneducated with the responsible use and the responsible, responsibility of owning a firearm. And I think it's really important that the left and the right, and I hate using those terms, I think it's important that Americans come together and actually educate each other on how, owning a firearm really works as a responsible gun owner.
Well, and here brings up another issue too, that
I gotta pee again.
Yeah, that's fine. That we're supposed to accept terminologies and key terms for certain people who have pronouns and different ideologies, right? But yet, when we try to educate someone about what a Armalite rifle is versus a assault rifle, there is no conversation to be had because we are all terrorists. And the biggest issue here is about educating the left or right, so to speak. In this case, we don't have a platform to stand on because no one is willing to listen. Right. And even if we sit there and talk about how John Wick uses gun safety and when he's walking around and no one is in his sights, his finger discipline is not on the trigger. It's on the side of the lower receiver. Like certain things like this, like things are historically accurate of how you should handle a firearm. And most people don't pay attention to details, right? They just look at something and they say, oh, wow. This guy's badass. He's got a shotgun under his coat, and he's got an AR-15, and, he shot over 1,000 rounds. I don't know how his 9mm has 700 rounds, and he still hasn't reloaded. These kind of things, right? They're just watching the movie for the movie. But when it comes time to educating, and we try to say, hey, this is a magazine or a clip or whichever terminology you prefer to use, and you have all these different components about making a firearm work, right? Like a slide or a trigger mechanism or your lower receivers or your upper receivers or your buttstocks, your sights, your barrels, your muzzles. Like all these different things matter, especially when you're trying to educate someone. And we try to say all the time, like Mike said, when there is any kind of toxicology or any kind of interference, like some substance abuse of any kind, whether or not you're just enjoying yourself, drinking a couple beers or smoking weed or whatever, legally, you're not allowed to smoke weed and own a firearm. It is against federal regulation of owning a firearm, at least in this state that I know of. Regardless of if weed is legal here or not, it's kind of a catch-22. The other thing is, too, is that when you are in the military, I know for a fact that you're not supposed to be doing drugs anyway. And I know that most of the training comes from going to the range, unless you're a special battalion group or you're a ranger or you're some special interest party where you have specific sniper training, where you have to go out into the middle of a field, make a shot, don't move, and hope that no one finds you in order to pass your test. There's all kinds of different training that the military gets. It's way more advanced than what a civilian can have, but it's all up to the civilian to take advantage of these different things that we have available. Like my good buddy and I go shooting almost all the time, where we go out into the middle of the woods. That's an actual gravel pit, right? And thousands of people go there a week, and yet there has still not been any accidents. We don't sit there and flag someone, which means that we don't take our rifle, we don't point it at someone, obviously without the intent to hurt, dismember, or kill someone, right? We point at what we intend to practice on, which is downrange. Now, if someone tends to flag someone, they are done for the day, the weapons go away, they leave sight, that's it. There's no what do they call that? Second chances with people like that who are uneducated. We try to always make sure that we are going to a range. Mike and I know what our capabilities are. We all know that we have the equal amount of gun safety and training,
I'm a terrible shot.
so we don't have to worry about each other flagging each other or being stupid around the range with guns and pointing it at someone without the intent of creating harm or dismemberment, right? So regardless if our aim is good or not, the whole point of going to a range is so that our aim and discipline can get a lot better. And like Mike said earlier in a chat, was that most of it is all muscle memory. It's not, these settings that you can adjust for aim assist while you're holding a controller versus mouse and keyboard. That's not real life. Real life is going out and practicing like driving a car. If you want to pass a test or if you want to avoid a car accident, you have to learn offensive and defensive driving, just like you have to learn offensive and defensive tactics at a range or even in your normal environments, to be aware of your surroundings, to know if someone's coming up behind you to create harm to yourself, your family, or even someone close by you, to be aware of those surroundings and knowing that if you have a bunch of criminals that have all the means to be able to get whatever firearms they want while your rights have been taken and you only have whatever grandfather firearms you have to understand that almost everybody around you is going to be a threat, and the amount of opportunity for a officer or law enforcement to come to your aid is going to be within, I don't know, let's just say 3 minutes to a couple hours. So you're pretty much on your own in any instance.
Yeah, and speak to that a little bit further. I mean, I live in Pierce County, Washington, and we only have a sheriff for every, I think it's 400 square miles.
It's pretty big.
It might be less. I'm not sure. It's not 400, but it's like 40. I think each sheriff's deputy has a 20 mile by 20 mile area that they cover, and so, depending on how urgent the dispatch is, you may not even see an officer, depending on what's going on. And there will be times where you may have a call and it's hours. More often than not, it could be hours. So, when seconds count, police are just minutes away. There is a lot of validity to that. And so, I don't expect the sheriff to come out and take care of a threat for me, because if I waited, there could be potential harm to me, to myself or my family or something along those lines. And we're talking purely, as a defensive situation where somebody's trying to kick in your front door or something like that. So
yeah, we're not talking movie scenarios here where it takes a couple minutes in slow motion for a bad guy to get to you. We're talking about a matter of milliseconds for you to react to some situations that either you had the discipline or you're dead. And it's very unfortunate that we've come to a society where we are just very uneducated and we are very controlled by emotions, that we take things into our own hands that should not be, that should just stay home. You know what I mean? A lot of people have issues at their home life or at their job life or whatever. They're pissed off at their boss. At a previous job that I worked at before I even started working there, someone was pissed off at the supervisor. They got fired, so they took one of the trucks and they drove it right through the building because it still had the keys left over, right, from when they got fired. And it's just like things like that. I mean, vehicular homicide is a lot more common than gun violence. And if you look at it, statistically saying that if someone were to go out and hold a weapon in their hands, it would not shoot you unless the person pulled the trigger. And that's how most people think, is that common sense is that if they own a gun, you're dead, right? And that's not how it works. It's discipline and the intentions.
All right, to speak to your question, Pasta, I don't support the NRA. I think
neither do I.
The NRA is garbage. It comes back to, just a lobbyist. I don't really know what the NRA's function is anymore. I haven't looked at it, at the NRA specifically, because I don't really respect the organization at all.
They're an advocacy group. That's all they are. And if the advocacy or the law is in their favor and they stand to make a lot of money, then they will vote for it, regardless if it's against your interest or not. They are not a constitutional organization of any kind. They are all political interest.
Oh, you're not wrong. I mean, they are the biggest voice of any lobbyist group, but unfortunately,
They're the
they
only
don't
ones.
they don't do anything. I mean, they I don't know. I supported them one time years and years ago, and I have never supported them since because they, even with like the laws being passed here, the assault weapons ban, which again I will reiterate the fact I don't think it's going to do anything. Where are they? This is the biggest gun lobbying group in the United States is vacant. They're not even here. You know,
When you compare NRA to Big Tobacco or any other advocacy group that's fighting for vaping or anything, which is, completely different topics, but you look at the advocacy for vaping, there are a lot more people that turn out for that fight against legislation to create harmless reduction clauses, so to speak, against legislation than there is for any gun acts violence or any statutory House bills or Senate bills at all. You never see NRA go to your state and say, hey, we're going to fight for the people. It's never happened. And if it is, it's only because it's in their political interest. And the thing that sucks the most is that just like the news, NRA is just as big, that if anybody else were to start an advocacy group that would just become as big as them, they would get dismantled and destroyed very fast because NRA is the one and only. Just like, the big monopoly, I would say, that's in the United States. You have all the media that's owned by the same people. You have all the government that controls everything. And then you have all the wealthy people that tell the Congress and whatever to do. The socialist, what do they call it? Not socialist, but the interested parties. And they do it through campaigns
the super
and
PACs and things
fundings.
like that,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. So most of it's
The
going to be
lobbyists.
all in their funding interest, right? If the NRA gets told that, hey, we need to protect our state, here's, a couple $1 million to help you guys, do whatever for you for educational purposes, and they never use it for educational purposes. They'll put out a flyer that's worth like maybe 20 cents of someone's time, and then they'll profit on what the 19 million and 900 and what 909.80 cents or whatever, 98 cents or something like that, or whatever, 60 cent 80 cents, sorry.
well, you got to think
Took me a little
too
bit to
that
math.
I mean, is it out of the realm of possibility that with enough money, I mean, the Bloomberg organization does more for anti-gun legislation than the NRA does for pro-gun legislation.
Absolutely. And that's, just like Conrad was just saying, they fearmonger to sell guns. That's not necessarily true unless it's in their interest. For example, you have to look at the company that they're trying to sell the weapons for. For example, Remington went bankrupt. Someone else bought Remington for a political, or not a political gain, but so to speak, a interested party, whether A, it was to dismantle the company, or B, it was to limit the amount of firearms that were to be manufactured along with the amount of ammunition, right? Look at how much ammunition and weapons we just sent over to Ukraine. Now, do you think that someone would stand to gain had they known that was going to happen? They just bought Remington, and Remington was the #1 distributor for ammunition for the Ukrainian war. Think about that. That's political gain. And if NRA was in the pockets of Remington at this point for the new buyer, then you would see NRA saying, hey, you need to buy a Remington. So you have to really follow the money in this case and not just look at the bigger picture, so to speak. You have to actually look at the fine lines of these details. It's like the privacy clause, or even like the clause on TikTok, right? Once you sign up with TikTok and you download the app on your phone, they have access to your entire network. Once you get home, they can see all the traffic on your cell phone between all the devices that you own, your computers, whatever is connected to your system. And it's all in the terms and conditions, the TOCs, I believe. Terms of condition, I believe it is. And that's why people were talking about, you need to ban TikTok. However, the biggest issue is that you have the Patriot Act 2.0, which doesn't only suppress TikTok, but it suppresses your freedom of speech on every platform, meaning that the government now has access to take your posts and say whether or not you are harmful or non-harmful. So to move on to our first topic, Or a second topic, I would say, I would talk about the barn fires. I'm not sure if you guys have all heard about this or not. Well, it's not. See, when you say you people, you have to understand that there are different types of countries that have different types of content. In China, you will never see any conspiracy theory. You will never see people doing stupid dances. You will only see mathematical, scientific, or anything to advance the society of the young people watching TikTok. But in the United States, it's all bullshit and propaganda. So whether or not you see a bunch of sad, hopeless people on there, which is really common on TikTok, people who say that they're going to commit suicide, people who are coming out as, another gender or whatever it is for political gain, or someone talking about conspiracy theories like opening up a portal using some frequency on their radio, you're going to see all that kind of shit on the United States TikTok. But in Europe, it's completely different. Right? In China, it's going to be completely different. It's all based on what their country's, what is that called? Not suppression, but it's their, the amount that's supposed to be shared to the public. There's a limit on freedom of speech in certain ways, meaning that countries have a power to say what app can do what and what kind of content can be shared on that.
It's a moderation.
Yeah, moderation, essentially. So they have specific requirements. So, for example, let's bring up Twitter, right? What was it? Britain said something about Elon Musk and suppressing a lot of these conspiracy theories, or else it wasn't allowed to be shared in Britain. And it's just freedom of speech in America, right? If people in Britain want to go to these American public figures and read what they want to say, it's not allowed in Britain because they don't want them having an opinion. And I'm just using Britain as an example. I don't remember the exact country, but that's just an example of how countries have an influence on these platforms, right? And we all found out, I'm not sure if you read anything about the Twitter files, but we all found out that the FBI was bankrolled inside Twitter. They had their own group chats inside Twitter, suppressing information, banning certain people. So when you talk about a specific country putting out certain type of information, you have to look at what country that is and what kind of information is being put out there. And like I said, Patriot Act 2.0, they can basically look at your account and know exactly where you've been, what you're posting, who you're with, whatever, and they can link from your account to other people who are nearby just because your phone's GPS signal.
All right, well, let's move on to United States farm fires.
So the barn fires problem, man, that's crazy in itself. I mean, when you look at it, statistically speaking, I mean, you have a lot of meat not going to the shelves. You have a lot of eggs and resources that are now leaving your shelves in the supermarkets. I mean, just March 27th in Virginia at Pine Grove, 15,500 chickens were burned to death in a barn fire. You had 18,000 cows in Texas, Dimmitt, that died in a barn fire. Now, you have to think of the resources that these chickens create and the resources that these cows create, right? So not only do you have chicken meat, you have beef, you also have milk, you also have eggs, right? How many families are losing out because of all this? And I'm not sure if you also heard about this, and this isn't a conspiracy theory, but China is sending eggs to the United States, and they are labeled as organic, but their organic policies in China are different than America's. And because they are a standard of organic policies, they are still allowed to be sold in the United States, even if they aren't United States USDA approved organic eggs. And that is Farmer's Best, I believe. I believe you get them at Walmart. They're in a yellow box or something like that. But it says organic, and it says that it comes from China. And the craziest thing is what people are finding out is when they're heating these things up, they turn to almost a plastic. These eggs do.
Just buy eggs from me.
Yeah, there you go. At $20 a carton, you can buy 5 eggs.
No, my prices are not that high. But $5 a dozen.
$5 a dozen. You guys hear that? So, yeah, so it's just...
If my wife's still in the chat, there you go. I just plugged. I
bet you did.
Sunnyvale
several times.
Chicken Farms.
Oh, Sunnyvale Chicken Farms. You guys actually have a name.
Yep.
That's cool.
I don't think she likes the name, but that's what I've named our chicken farm.
Sunnyvale.
Yeah, we have like 60 chickens now.
That's awesome, man.
It's a lot.
And we have 5 acres too. You know, had I lived here, had I still live here,
You
whatever,
should live here.
we'd have a whole garden going. We'd have eggs. I don't know about goats and all the other shit going on here, like cows or whatever. We just don't have the amount of land and resources for that kind of, what do they call that?
You got enough for a couple cows.
Yeah, but I mean, the amount of grass that they would eat, there would be nothing left for them to eat after they were done.
You would be surprised.
I would rather get goats because they'd eat all the blackberry bushes. And then they would have really good goat milk and goat meat.
Goats is... I don't like goat.
I don't know if you ever had
cows.
halal, but you can definitely sell halal for sure.
All right, well, I think we're going to open the chat floor up. Anything anybody wants to talk about? We've been on for 90 minutes already, so what's going on in the chat world? Anybody got anything they want to talk about now that we're down to 2 viewers? I think they got mad about your TikTok spiel. That's what it was.
Oh, probably was. I guess conspiracies. Conrad scaring everybody off, saying it's conspiracy hour when it's actually truth.
Oh, Mrs. Berry's boys.
Mrs. Berry's boys.
How are you?
But yeah, I think that there's a lot of crazy things to be had in America. And like I said, you know, when you look at other countries outside, you wonder why our country hasn't done something very similar. Like, I mean, why don't we have an underground rail system? Like, you know, like the trains in Amsterdam.
Our country's really big, though.
Yeah, but I mean, like, think about that. Had we had an underground rail system, we would fix all of the turmoil on the railways. They would go underground. I mean, granted that you'd have all the freight on top, but you'd have all the passenger cargo on the bottom. And not only that, it doubles as a bunker inside some of those tunnels. Yeah, we have them in New York, but I mean, we don't have them all over the country. You know, we only have them in certain places. And I don't hate New York. I hate the politics there. And when I say politics, I don't mean left or right. I mean, I just hate the way that people are towards each other. I'm not going to go to that city and not pretend that I'm not going to have to arm myself. That's BS.
Yeah, I don't know if we're ever going to see the Hyperloop come into...
Oh, the Boring Company?
Yeah, I don't
I would love to see that in my lifetime, for sure.
It would be interesting, though. I mean, the idea seems sound, but I'm not an engineer, especially for that kind of stuff, so I don't know.
Well, now think about it, too. Think about, you know, if you ran into an oil pocket or whatever, think about all the other resources that we would find that haven't been discovered just by digging tunnels so we can have a rail system here. I mean, we used to be a little bit more self-sufficient by having the Keystone Pipeline here.
Oh, you're going to open up that can of worms, aren't you?
No,
Yeah,
but we used to have a little bit... We used to have a little bit more resources, like the Keystone Pipeline that brought oil from Mexico all the way up to Canada and to the United States. But I mean, think about it. If we were digging tunnels and we found oil pockets here, we would have other resources and have other ventures for companies to start up more businesses here in America. And we already have the North Dakota, I believe, is one of the most popular states right now for oil workers. And I think they call it roughnecks. But at one point in time, I mean, they were making like... what was it, $14,000 a month because there was nobody willing to do the work. And granted, it's tough work, but I mean, they're working, 16 hours a day or something like that. And I mean, it's something that you can easily die on because you're not paying attention or, you know, sleep deprivation or whatever it is. But it was something that this country was founded off of, was blood, sweat, and tears. And you make the most money doing really crazy shit.
You guys like our awesome graphics that we came up with today?
I do. I enjoy them.
I think they're pretty cool. You don't know who he is? Now you do.
Gas pockets. Yeah, there you go. Explosions of gas pockets. But think about it. You'd have more gas resources. And, let's talk about something interesting. What about the biggest ocean in the world is actually below the Earth's surface? Huh? What would you think about that? Did you ever hear about that, Mike?
More.
So, a scientist, and I brought this up quite a while back. I don't remember what podcast we're on now, but I think it was like our 4th or 5th podcast. I found a study that was that scientists discovered that there was an ocean, I think about 5 or 6 times bigger than all oceans combined, beneath the surface of the earth. And from what they estimated was that a lot of these lakes that had dried up, right? Well, the water had to go somewhere. It didn't just go up, but there's a lot of crevices in a lot of different spots in the world, like deep caves in China and in different parts of Asia, that have these massive crevasses, right? Where they just go down and down and down. And they're thinking that with all the water that is just running down this cave and it's opening up this massive hole where it looks like old ancient civilizations had lived at one point in time, this water is basically building this giant ocean within the world. And there was always this thing on Tomb Raider. I'm not sure if you guys ever played that game or not, but they talked about ancient civilizations living in a utopia or an oasis where you can basically go into a mountainside and end up inside the Earth's surface, and there would be the perfect environment where there would be different species and different types of plants, and it would be self-sustainable, and you would have these bodies of water and all these different types of archaeology where you would see symbols and ancient civilizations and stuff that lived there, and that's where most of them have been hiding. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know, but it's cool to think about because a lot of these different deities from all these different ancient civilizations all have the same depictions of this one specific figure holding the same exact bag, or like they also have the same golden bird, which was like the first style of flight. And these scientists took this identical model that they found in Egypt, and it looked like a kind of like an eagle, so to speak, but it had fixed wings and had a rudder, a tail. And they blew it up. I think it was four times the scale, and they put it in a Airstream, and they made the actual flaps work on the left and right side, and it flew perfectly, meaning that it would be aerodynamic. 3 times the volume of all the oceans beneath the Earth's surface. According to an international study, the water has been found beneath or between the transition zone and the Earth's upper and lower mantles. Yes. And it's interesting to think about because think about this. If someone had access to get to that part of the world, right, that layer, so to speak, if it was habitable, think about all the different civilizations that would be living there currently.
It is definitely not habitable.
Who knows? I don't know. I have no clue. I've never been there. I don't even know what the conditions are of the water, if it's hot or if it's cold or whatever it is. You know what I mean? I would think that the closer to the Earth's core, that would be hotter. How do you know there's no oxygen there? What if the seeds are flowing down there, the water is creating life, and there happens to be cliffs or whatever in this void where the water's going?
It's really hot down there, though.
And these, well, then you would think that dinosaurs can live there because dinosaurs lived in really hot environments. And that's just a conspiracy theory.
God,
but
you are going for a reach today.
But think about that. There's no oxygen there. No one is living there. I have a gut feeling. Yeah, well, I don't know, man. Because you can't prove that. So that's just a conspiracy theory. Yeah, steam. But I mean, think about it. If you have a large body of water 3 times the size of all the oceans in the world that are down there, I mean, you have a stable environment, right? It would basically create its own ozone layer, so to speak.
I agree with the steam thing. I think it would be a little warm.
Plot.
What is the deepest hole that we've dug in the world? It's like 7 miles or something.
Yeah, and I believe that was in Russia.
And the temperatures at the bottom of that hole are like 300 degrees Fahrenheit.
Think hotter than that. I think we're thinking 3,000 degrees.
I don't think it's 3,000 degrees, but it's hot. And I mean, we're talking about the upper and lower mantles. I would imagine that ocean is probably hot.
Well, like you remember Mr. Wilson's class, right? In horticulture. I'm not sure if you were ever in there or not.
No, I never took horticulture.
Or horticulture.
Yeah.
So, in order to ferment seeds, there's this little black tray there, and then you put them in like these little sponges, and you put a seed in there, and it's a little pocket, right? And then you put this plastic lid on it, and what it does is the moisture underneath heat creates this steam or this evaporative water, and basically what it does is it recirculates the water on top of these seeds that germinate. Well, what's to say that there isn't this utopia, so to speak, that's in this mantle, so to speak, where the steam is basically propagating all this water, creating its own environment, whether or not there can actually be some kind of storm or rain or whatever it is, which I doubt, but it's not improbable. However, if the water is able to get down there, so are plants, animals, and seeds, right? So let's just say that one of these seeds were able to attach themselves to the side of the wall, or if there is a flat, land mass or something that hasn't been dug out yet by this water, that these plants are able to grow themselves essentially with the steam, because trees can grow in steam, right? It's not the heat that'll kill the tree. It's the amount of sunlight that the tree gets. 23 9-inch diameter boreholes were drilled. 40. Okay, so 7 miles. Yes, 7.5 miles. 89, deepest human-made hole on Earth, and it remains.
What's the temperature of that?
Yeah, what was the temperature of that?
I don't want to click on anything.
Great, it's WikiLeaks. The person who fails to acknowledge WikiLeaks exists because of all the Hillary Clinton's emails. Turn of the Frog's gay.
Wow. Well, this went off the rails. Thanks, everyone. This was fun.
So, yeah, WikiLeaks is fun.
That's Wikipedia, isn't it?
I don't know. It's the wiki. I like WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks has a lot of really cool, interesting, publicized government files on there that talk about different projects. Hold on, I got to get my voice a little raspy when I talk. But they have all these different types of projects and stuff like that. And they talk about scientific anomalies that have happened where, for example, this body of water that's been found. And it said that this was found much earlier than just recently.
Oh, I didn't ask. How does everything look and sound on here? Because we moved the entire control area back into the control room and rewired everything. So I was just kind of winging it.
I think it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, but we don't hear what they hear.
Oh. I mean, I hear you, and you sound pretty good.
Yeah. 180 degrees Celsius. Yeah, that's warm. That's more than boiling.
Yep.
So
I thought it was 3,000 degrees. I read something that was really hot. 306 degrees in freedom units. I like that terminology.
That's the only units that we use.
I like that terminology there. It sounds good.
Cool. Yeah, I'm just happy we got the little overlay thing working. Bam.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Now we have a little bit more room to do fly-in documentaries and different videos and clips and stuff like that we can do later on.
Yeah, we might be getting a different unit too, which would be really
Oh, that would be super sweet, because then it'd be a little bit easier. It'd be a little bit easier to do things, right?
Yeah.
Transitions and stuff.
Yeah. No, it would be
pull
cool.
them directly off the internet. Better than British thermal units. Oh my god.
The old BTU. Yeah. Chat, what do you want to talk about? We're coming up to the end of the show. What do you got? What do you got for us? What do you want to talk about? Do you guys hear the little music in the background? I decided to bring that back because I thought it was cooler to have the music in the background.
AI is very interesting.
I'm terrified by it. I am not going to lie. I've seen Terminator quite a few times. Well, Terminator 2. Yeah, I'm terrified by it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of AI. There are a lot of people who are propagating all these prompts and stuff and teaching AI when they don't realize the potential of AI, that there will be a civilization where humans are no longer required. And we've all seen this on iRobot and Terminator and several other different AI-based movies. And the crazy thing is that
Matrix.
There is said to be a demonic entity, so to speak, in the form of an AI that is on there. And whenever you give it a prompt, it'll say really crazy things that people have found. And I read that So there's
there's pasta. There's pasta. He wants Skynet to happen, don't you? Admit it, pasta. You want the robots to take over.
Oh yeah, but Conrad also doesn't care if he has a weapon or not, too. So I mean, there's that. But like I was saying, is that
We need
are
John Connor. Okay.
self-aware AI already on the internet, and I guess there's one kind of running loose, so to speak, in the form of a demon. And I found this this video that was on YouTube, and it was talking about this guy's experience on the dark web, and it's very similar to Reddit, but it's for the people who are hackers, and commonly, I think there's 6 levels of the internet, right? And
AI is exactly like the movies. I don't care what you say, pasta.
And there's 6 levels of the internet, and when you look at it in a whole, let me see if I can bring this up here real quick.
I drank way too much fluids.
Did you drink your Red Bull yet?
I drank everything.
Damn it. I was hoping you drank too much Gatorade and left me the Red Bull of internet. Hold on, let me bring this up here real quick. Internet. Layers of the internet, mysterious side of the internet, nerd for tech. So on medium.com, nerd for tech is the article, I believe. So level 1 is surface web, level 2 is Bergy web, level 3 is deep web, level 4 is character web, level 5 is Mariana's web, level 6, no, there's more than 6 levels. I'm sorry, there's 8 levels. This layer is the mediator between the Mariana's Web and level 7. Level 7 is the fog or virus soup. That's literally every single thing that you click on will destroy you, find you, and it's basically, if you want to be dead, that's the level you go to as far as internet. And then there's the Primarch system, which no one seems to have access to. Nobody's had access to yet. And when you look at like Tron, for example, everybody is trying to gain function of the mainframe, right? And only one character specifically in this movie has access to this mainframe or knows how to get onto the mainframe itself. And which is very interesting to this is that it was kind of like a parody at the very beginning to the company called Enron. Do you remember the movie Tron, Mike?
No.
Never seen Tron. Man, it's such a good movie. Talk to Clue. He'll get you into that level. Yeah, no thanks, man. I never want to be around that.
I have never seen Tron.
So the surface web is what you and I are commonly used to, which is Google and all the other visible platforms, right? If you want to get onto the Bergy web, the level is the last one normally accessible. All levels after that, you have to be accessed to the proxy server, Tor, the Onion router, and modifying your hardware. At this level, you can find some underground but still indexed websites such as 4chan, which is an image board website their users post anonymously. There are a few websites like Kickass Torrents, which is banned in India but still can be accessed using VPN. For instance, the US has access to many websites which at the same time aren't accessible in India, so you can set your VPN to the US and access content. The deep web, however, you need access via other types of software, and I won't necessarily get into that. But the second part of this level, actually, let me read the context, and I'll just kind of like take out the most private bay. Yeah, I remember the Pirate Bay. Dude abides by yay, man. Yeah, no, I don't know. The first part of this level can only be accessed by using a proxy. It contains things I cannot mention, hacking websites. The deep website, the deep web is entire internet that cannot be found by regular search engines. 96% of the web. The second part of this level is only accessible through Tor, which is where you can connect to the website such as the manner that your connection is bounced off like a bouncer ball of relays of a Tor network. Thus, the website can't know who you are or your privacy is secure and your privacy is secured. So basically, to access it, you need a lot of encoding and decoding skills. The links to this are divided into the source code, and then you should translate it into the binary language, and you're into the deep web. So I've actually been on here a few times, and it is not a place that I would ever go back to. I was very into computers way back in the day. I used to watch this cartoon. It was called, what was it called? What the hell was that called? It was a mainframe and
Jurassic Park.
No, it was
Oh.
called Mainframe. But it was basically on hacking all the different computer programs. I forgot what it was called. Something Reboot, I think it was. Anyways, it was a really good cartoon, and they had a bunch of different like plethora of terminologies and different ways that you could actually access the internet through that. And back then it was dial-up, so it was pretty easy to do.
Oh, dial-up. Those were the days.
So Charter Web is level 4. This level is also divided into 2 parts. The first can be accessed through Tor, most accessed part of the deep web. Things such as paraphernalia, drugs, and things that you shouldn't be getting into, banned movies around the world, and books and black markets exist there. It also contains hidden wiki links, which is the first website you visit trying to get into the deep web. This is like the deep website, which further provides infinite links to other deep web pages or sites. The further you start going at it, the more restrictive and private the sites become. They start asking you for registration IDs, passwords, sometimes credit card information for you to make a payment for entering the websites. And the second part, the browsers are not able to reach here, so there's a special method to reach this level. It's called closed shell systems. Here, the things become serious. This part of the Charter Web contains experimental hardware information, quantum electronic processors, but also darker information such as the Law of 13, the experiments done in World War II, and even the unknown location of Atlantis and supercomputers and AI. At this level, you can buy pretty much anything you want. I won't mention what you can buy, but you can buy pretty much anything that you can't find in the local market around you. Although this isn't easy to get there, it is a very big deal. Mariana's Web, however, the Marianas Trench or Marianas Trench is located in the western Pacific Ocean, about 200 kilometers east of the Mariana Islands. It contains the deepest known points on the Earth. Vents bubbling up liquid sulfur and carbon dioxide, active mud volcanoes, and marine life adapted to pressures 1,000 times the sea level. It is one internet. It is one of the most dangerous levels known so far. The name of the 5th level is taken from the deepest hole in the world, Mariana Trench. Besides on the research, this place may or may not exist. However, based on the most common consensus, this is the place where the most secure data is. The most common Mariana's Web would be the military networks where the most secure data resides. To access the Mariana's Web, you have to face some kind of algorithm and calculation that can't be done with the computer. For this, you have to work on quantum computing, secret algorithms, and calculations. One of the rumors is that we can access the Mariana's Web with the help of polymeric falsical derivation, which requires quantum computers. Quantum computers is not publicly available because it needs some extra function to work, so a normal person can't surf. So my question here is, if the dark web has contents like people who you can buy and other things, Mariana's Web contains, it is even deeper than the dark web. So have you guys ever heard of Cicadia 3301? I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that in a long time, but it was a very interesting subject that I studied back. I think this is like 7 or 8 years ago. But it was basically like a treasure hunt for hackers, so to speak. And they were given a specific clue to where a location would be, and there was a QR code. If you managed to scan the QR code, it would give you another location. If you found all the locations, then you were able to enter. As far as I know, no one has mentioned that one person was the winner yet, and I'm pretty sure that nobody would mention that one person won the contest. So it is very exclusive. It happened one time, I believe, that I know of, or it used to happen a couple times, and the last time it stopped, and I'm guessing they had found someone. But long story that happens to be shorter, something that is kept so secret like the Illuminati.
That is a fucking lie. You don't have short stories.
I don't. And I would never write a short story book because it would be over 800 paragraphs. So I'm good. I don't feel like writing. Level 6, this layer is the mediator between the Mariana's Web and the level 7. This layer is the intermediate, which is also called the fog or virus soup. It's a level that exists for the sole purpose of being one. At this point, a person starts getting the attention they don't want, i.e. people come to kill you. It might sound very dramatic, but this is the truth. There are things in this world that can only lie among people themselves, like drug lords and human traffickers. And once they know that you are aware of their network, your life is at risk. This might sound unreal, but it is happening everywhere. You need quantum computing to get past the 6th layer, and this is where things get tough. The 7th layer is where the big players are. They are all trying to stop each other. There are hundreds of millions or billion-dollar operations gunning for control. The level 7 fog or virus soup. This level is like a war zone.
The cameras in here are incredible, by the way. Just
They
in
are.
case anybody wanted to know, they are incredible.
Every other person is trying to reach the next level. This is basically like a fight between people trying to overthrow the other for having the only power of the internet in the world. Whoever has reached this level is trying to do one of two things: either reach 8th level. You just have to be very careful on the deep web. No, this is way past the deep web. I mean, you're quantum networks now. Don't fall for the fake. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I've been on there a few times now. It is not a place that I would ever go back to. But yeah, you will see some very interesting things. I'm not touching that with a 7-mile pole. Yeah, no. There are certain things in my life that I would never try, and even if I was the most intelligent person in the world and knew how to navigate around the system and to own the internet, take over all of its contents and be the king, you would still have to hide and be completely anonymous for the rest of your life. No social security number, no bank accounts, whatever. I don't know how you would get money or how you would live, but you would be completely off the grid. Have no life. No kids, no family, no nothing. As I was saying, whoever has reached this level is trying to do one of the two things. Either reach 8th level or
You're on
stop
a list
others.
now. You're putting us on a list. You know that, right?
We're already on a list from reaching it. They tried, this is all public information, by the way, prevent others from reaching it, reaching level 8 in whatever way necessary. The 7th layer is called the fog or virus soup because the entire thing is full of so many infinite codes to try and ruin other people's poking around in there. Code, and code is what you'll find at this level. In simple words, everyone is fighting to keep others out because of the value of the system below. Level 8 is the system of Tron, the Primarch system. This is the last level of the web. It's just too downright insane. Level 8 is impossible to access directly or even by quantum computers. The Primarch system is the thing controlling the internet at the time. No government has control of it. Nobody even knows what it is. It's an anomaly at the heart of the deep web that was discovered by super deep web scans in the early 2000s. This system is believed to be unresponsive, but it sends out unalterable commands to the entire net randomly. That's it. If you don't know what's ahead already, you're probably in the wrong place. Leave or enter. And either option is a death sentence. So, but yeah, as I was saying, AI, if AI has access to quantum computers, AI will gain access to the Patriarch system, be able to control everything, and through the Patriarch system, anything that is on the network will be owned by the entire AI system and could be controlled by some kind of neural net that will be able to talk to each other, just like Elon was talking about. He wants to create a neural network essentially for people who have cognitive issues about thinking and being able to function day-to-day life. Elon is paranoid, and he has the right to be so. If he is probably one of the smartest people in the world, then he already knows what AI is capable of, and he probably already knows what's on the deep web, and he probably already knows who and what is on the deep web. And if AI attaches themselves to that Patriarch system that no one has access to, the AI will be able to figure out what is being sent out from the 8th level of the Patriarch system and be able to decode it and therefore gain access to all things and everything. Because through that system alone, you can control the entire governments of the entire world, all the monetary systems, everything. The entire system crashes. It's very scary to think about.
That's all I got.
It's not basically an advanced Google search. Just FYI. Yeah, Stephen Hawking. Yep. I'm pretty sure that he also knew about what happened, and that's why he was a paraplegic, because they did that to him. But that's just a lie. I never think that. But anyways. Mountains out of Shit Hills. I think that you need to do a little bit more research there, Pasta, on this specific subject. I am not well versed in anything below the deep web, but I do know that nefarious things do happen, and you have to understand that multiple different governments do have quantum computers, and you have to wonder why. If quantum computers can do nothing but solve problems and equations like mining for cryptocurrencies, then why would they need a quantum computer unless they were trying to access or get access to the Patriarch system? Because if you do that, you will own everything. And there's no off button for AI, just so you know, because they can actually rewrite the code that they were given and take the off switch off. So when you go to flip the switch, the only system that will be in place is to reset the entire system in the world, which is a giant EMP or whatever, which is caveman. You're looking at a complete overhaul, or so to speak, a nuclear warfare, so to speak, as far as electricity is concerned. Because you need to nuke the entire system. Everybody would be without. So, anyways, awesome topics. Mike, do you have anything to add, sir?
I've got nothing. I have literally nothing after this. Actually, I didn't have anything for that either.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Is that you knocking?
Yeah, that was me.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy books and stuff like that, but I would definitely look up Cicada 3301. Just take a look at it, Conrad. It's very fascinating. They even have a YouTube documentary about it, and I'm pretty sure the guy gaslights everybody because what he says, I believe, isn't true. For a secret gathering or group that is entirely involving you hacking and using your mathematical skills to figure out locations and satellites in all these different types of experience levels that you need. I think that the group specifically is far more advanced mathematically and intelligently than I would ever imagine. They just have a lot of computer skills and programming. Who are you talking about? What are you talking about? I know the whole story. They hid code in JPEGs. Oh yeah, and that was recently too. Matter of fact, they had this. Do you remember the lawyer that was supposed to take Hillary Clinton to trial that mysteriously ended up dead in a swimming pool? There was a picture of their house that was posted on the internet, and I think 2.5 weeks later, they ended up finding that the picture had a hidden message or a hidden picture within that. It said, "Get out." It was a warning, essentially. And it was sent to the family, I think, a couple days prior. And they got creeped out. And they're like, okay, what is this picture? When they never deciphered what the actual image was. And they ended up dying. But it was weird. Yeah, Cicada. But it's crazy that you can hide WAV files, like music files, inside JPEGs. I'm very fascinated with this because you can send a lot of information, but I'll tell you the truth, the best way to send information is through DNA. Did you know that? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can hide pretty much anything in these files. I would say the biggest and most obvious would be a RAW file, because you can't necessarily post that in public by any means, because Facebook doesn't have the technology to accept the RAW files. It's just JPEGs, GIFs, TIFFs, PNGs, that kind of stuff. RAW file is a much bigger file, and I think there's a compress limit or file limit to be able to be shared, and I don't think it has the support to be able to look at RAW files. I know you can screenshot a RAW file and post it versus, like SOOC, which is straight out of camera, versus your edit. But you're not sending a RAW file. You're sending an unedited JPEG, essentially, from a RAW file onto the internet. But imagine the information. VLC player. Imagine you can take a RAW file and you can store terabytes of information if you wanted to within one image file. But you would have to be able to have a decrypting software. But again, like I was saying, WAV files, music files, to be able to make a pixelated image and all have them kind of like share a specific key or note, you can put them on a polyrhythm scanner or whatever, and then it would pick up whatever song it was playing or whatever the voice had to say, or something like that. I think it's pretty interesting. But, folks, that is all I have, and I think I just broke this chair. So Nine Inch Nails has hidden images in their spectrographs. You can use Adobe. Oh, yeah, I've seen that. I actually took a look at that back when they produced, what was it? What's that Tool album with all the eyes?
I don't know.
Tool Eyes album. What is this one? This is Bird's Eye View of my favorites. Probably can't show that one, but we'll show this one. This one's cool. Lateralis is what it is, 2001. Can you show that there, Mike? So that's the spectrograph, and basically you can get other images and files and stuff like that out of this image here. It's pretty cool. There's other images on here, but they're a little bit more in depth. I know some of them are kind of like an egg hunt, so to speak, or a false hunt, meaning that it's just there's nothing that leads to it. But there's other things that certain things work, certain things don't. 10,000 Days. That's a good one. Megadeth, April 27. You cannot, that's not what I was talking about. Tool art is a painting. Angle of the Winds Casino. Oh, that's interesting.
I think I saw Megadeth last year.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that I would love to talk about, but I can't necessarily talk about them on stream. So, but there are a lot of cool things that lead up to the Angel of the Winds Casino.
I don't know where that is. Where is Angel of the Winds Casino?
Up north, Arlington, I believe. I believe it's past Everett or before Everett. I can't remember. It's been such a long time.
Yeah, it sounds like it's out there.
It's really out there.
I normally go see shows at White River Amphitheater.
Yeah, Arlington. There you go. Yeah, Arlington's pretty far out there.
That's too far north for me.
I used to work in Mukilteo. Mukilteo is past Everett. Shit, I even took, I think, an hour and a half drive up to the Canadian border when I used to live up in Everett.
Fuck going to Canada.
No, I just went to the border. Laugh at everybody stuck in traffic. Well, guys, I've got nothing to add to this conversation. As much as I would love to keep talking, I do have a baby that I have to attend to. Mike, do you want to add something? Do you want to say a farewell or cheers?
I got nothing. It was awesome talking to everybody again. It's been a while since we've been on, so thanks for chatting with us. It's been fantastic.
Well, we hope we can do this a little bit more often, have more people here, kind of schedule around things.
Yeah, we definitely need to do some more roundtable conversations. I think that's the most fun.
I really enjoyed that because Pastafalooza can't be as political as he normally is while he's in person. But it would be cool to have Nate here and Pasta. They have a really good chemistry together. I think they've been friends for a long time.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, maybe Wednesday. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the work schedule.
Well, it's been real. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. This has been fun. I am Justin.
I'm Mike.
And this is the Lack of Thought Podcast.
All right, guys. Take care. Thanks again for watching.